Good morning, students. Welcome to APS e-learning classes. I am your English teacher, Ms. Richa Dubey. Today we are going to read the poem A Tiger in the Zoo from our literature book First Flight of class 10th. Now, Tiger in the Zoo is written by Leslie Norris. Now, before reading the poem, let's discuss about the poet. Now, the poet is George Leslie Norris. He was born in 1921 and died in 206. He was a prize-winning Welsh poet and a short story writer, and he's considered as most important Welsh writers of the post-war period, and his literary works have won many prizes. His famous works are Finding Gold, The Loud Window, Phoenix Living Poet series, Ransoms, etc. Now let's talk about the poem. The poem A Tiger in the Zoo is written by Leslie Norris, and he explains the agony and the helplessness of a caged tiger that lives in a zoo. The poet explains what his life could be if he had been a free animal. The poet has tried to explain about the condition of animals that are caged by human beings for their own fun. So let's begin the poem A Tiger in the Zoo by Leslie Norris. First stanza. He stalks in his vivid strips the few steps of his cage on beds of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. Now the meaning of stalks. Stalks means follows. Vivid means bright colors. Pads, paws of tiger. And velvet is a soft material, very soft material. And rage means anger. So here in the first paragraph, the first stanza, what the poet is trying to say that the tiger is confined in the zoo, and when he's confined in the zoo, he's walking, he's moving around in the cage. Vivid strips means bright colored skin. The tiger with his bright colored skin is moving around in the cage, the few steps of his cage. Now naturally in a cage he is restricted, he's confined, so he cannot walk a longer distance, so he can take only a few distance. So he's taking only few distance because the cage is small, it is not easy to move in it. So the few steps of his cage on beds of velvet quiet. Now quiet word is telling about what? That when he's moving quietly. One cannot hear his footsteps. Why? Because of his velvety pads, or because of his paws which are velvety, soft like velvet. And because of his soft velvety pads, the sound is not made of his footsteps. So that is why quiet word means there is no sound of his walking. In his quiet rage means anger. The tiger is very angry. Why? Because he is confined. He's locked in a cage, whereas he should be in the open, but he's locked in the cage. The tiger is trying to control his anger by quietly walking in that limited area of the cage. And why is he angry? He's angry because he's not free. He wanted to be free. He wanted to move about in the outside open forest, but he cannot. So he's very angry, but he's quiet. He is angry, but he's not showing his anger. He's very quiet, very peaceful. Now let's move to second stanza. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass, near the water hole where plump deer pass. Now the first stanza was telling that the tiger was in the zoo. Now here second stanza he's recalling that he should be in the open. He should be in the open forest. He should be lurking in shadow. He should be lurking in shadow means, what do you mean by lurking? Lurking means to be hidden, as to wait for your prey. Now, generally, if you see in television and movies and all, that these bigger animals, fierce animals, wild animals, they are waiting for their prey. So, what they are doing, they are hiding behind some bushes and they wait. And generally, where they are waiting, where they are hiding, near some water bodies, because they know that these small animals are going to come to these water bodies to drink water, and there they just go and seize these smaller animals. So he should be lurking in shadow. He should be, okay, he is in zoo. So he's just remembering that I should be in the forest, and he should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass. Sliding means walking slowly through long grass so that he is not noticed. Where? Near the water hole. Why? Because there the plump deer pass. Plump means fat. Because the fat deer comes to that water body to drink water. So the tiger should be hiding himself in the shadow, sliding through long grass near the water hole where plump deer pass. So, what is the poet trying to say? The poet is trying to say that if should, because should word is used, so that if this tiger was free, he would have been hiding himself in the shadow, and must be passing slowly in the long grass near the water bodies, so that he could easily catch a fat deer to have his food. That deer would be his food. So, what actually the poet wants to say is that the actual life of a tiger is to live in the jungle, not in the zoo, where he could catch his prey and eat it. But what is the actual situation now? The tiger is in the cage and cannot do so. So naturally, it is quite obvious that he will feel angry. So much of anguish is there in that tiger, because he should be there in the jungle, but now where he is in the zoo. So he is full of anger. Now let's come to stanza 3. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. Now, snarling means warning sounds made by animals. You must have seen they make a typical sound from their nose. That typical sound sound is showing the anger. It's showing the anger. That is growling. Snarl is through the nose. Okay, it makes a sound through the nose. That is snarling. So he should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge. Sorry, it's at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. So, snarling means warning sounds made by animals. Baring means uncovered. Fangs are sharp tooth of animals. Fangs are sharp tooth of animals. And terrorizing means creating extreme fear. So he should be, okay, he is in a cage, but he should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge. It means that the poet says that if the tiger would have been free, if he would have been in the jungle, he would have snarled around the houses which are at the jungle's edge, which are located at the outskirts of the forest, baring his white fangs, his baring his white fangs. What are fangs? Fangs are sharp tooth of animals. If you have seen the teeth of the animals, so those fangs are uncovered means he is showing his teeth to show his anger, his sharp tooth and claws terrorizing the village. So he is creating a terror. He's creating a fear among the people living in the villages by showing his white fangs, white teeth, and his claws. His white teeth and claws, through his white teeth, showing his white teeth and claws, he's creating terror in the villages. If he would have been in the jungle. But now, where is he? He is in the zoo. But he's locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. Now, concrete building made of brick, cement, sand, and water. And the meaning of stalking is stride in a proud, stiff, or angry manner. Okay, when you are walking, stalking means when you are walking in a very proud, stiff, or angry manner, that is stalking. So, but he's locked in a concrete cell. He should be in the village, in the jungle. But at present, where is he? He is in a concrete cell. Cell means jail. Okay, prison. He is locked in a concrete cell. His strength behind bars, all his strength, okay, which he should be using in catching his prey, in running behind the prey, in running behind animals and catching them and having their food. That strength is of no use because that strength is not being used. It is behind bars. Behind bars means in the cage, in the prison. Stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. He doesn't have anything to do except stalking the length of his cage. Only thing inside the cage he can do is just walking. So he's just walking here and there, showing his anger. Cannot do anything. He's angry. And that anger he is trying to tolerate by walking in the cage itself, ignoring visitors. And he's not trying to terrorize the visitors. If he was in the jungle, he would terrorize the villagers. But here, he's least bothered about the visitors and he's just ignoring them. He's not trying to do anything. Neither he's trying to terrorize them, nor trying to amuse them. Nothing. He's just stalking the length of his cage, walking in the cage. So, in this stanza, the poet is talking about the reality of the tiger that is inside the cage. He is saying that the tiger is confined in a strong cell which is made of strong building material, concrete cell, okay, strong building material. And he's saying that the strength, the ferociousness, the fierce nature, everything is behind bars, of the tiger is behind the bars, means that is inside the cage. And he cannot do anything. He just stalks in the cage. He just walks in the cage. He never tries to terrorize the visitors because his power is restricted by the cage. He never tries to terrorize the the visitors, because he cannot do anything. He is behind bars. He is in the cage. He is in the prison, and therefore he just ignores the visitors because he is neither terrorizing them nor entertaining or amusing them. We come to the last stanza. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Now, patrolling cars, patrolling means in the night the guards they do patrolling. They do patrolling means they are guarding, they are doing vigilance. And so these patrolling cars takes rounds of the whole zoo. They take rounds of the whole zoo to see that everything is fine for the safety and protection. So the last voice at night which he hears is the patrolling cars. The cars which are moving to guard. And stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Now, what is left with him? The tiger cannot do anything except sitting and staring with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. The poet, tiger, it is just sitting in a very sad mood, looking at the brilliant stars with his brilliant eyes. So what he's trying to do, he's trying to see the stars. He's trying to be with nature again. He's longing to be a part of nature again instead of being in a cage, locked in a cage. So the poet is saying that in the night, the tiger hears the sounds of the patrolling cars, and in the night, the tiger hears the sounds of these cars, and then he stares at the shining stars with his shining eyes. The tiger is sad because he want to be free like humans. He want to be in the jungle. He want to be managing things on his own, for example, providing his food. But he is helpless. He cannot do anything because he is restricted in a cage. He is confined in a cage. Therefore, he stares at the stars in the night and tries to divert his thoughts towards the stars and wanted to be a part of nature. He is admiring nature and he wanted that he should be a part of nature again. He want to be in the jungle again. He want to be a part of the jungle where he could move about freely like other animals. So this poem, actually the poet is trying to highlight the anguish, the feelings of the animals which are caged. The animals who should be free in the jungle but are unfortunately caged in the zoo. So how bad they feel. That is what is highlighted in this poem, A Tiger in the Zoo. Now let's come to the literary devices. The rhyme scheme of all the stanzas is A, B, C, B. All the stanzas is same only, A, B, C, B. Then next literary device is personification. Now the tiger is personified because we are writing, the poet is saying he, and he is used for humans. But tiger is not a human being, but he is used for tiger, so tiger is personified. Next is metaphor. Tiger's paws are compared with velvet. Tiger's paws are compared with velvet, pads of velvet. Okay, so they are compared with velvet without using as or like. So pads of velvet, the literary device used is metaphor. Next is imagery. Now what is imagery? Imagery is a literary device which is used using your senses. For example, when you are reading something, the image which is formed in your mind. Okay, if anything which when you are reading, if it is forming an image in your mind, that is literary device which is called imagery. We have different imageries: visual imagery, oral imagery, tactile imagery, sound imagery, smell imagery. All these are imageries which are an important literary device in poems and other literary works. So here in this poem, imagery is used where when the poet tries to create an image about the tiger, he stalks in his vivid strips the few steps of his cage, lurking in shadow. Lurking in shadow, at once you form an image in your mind, a tiger who's hiding in the long grass, waiting for a plump deer. So you are forming an image in your mind. So it's a visual imagery. Now he stalks in his vivid strips. So suddenly there is an image in your mind of a tiger with his bright colored skin is walking in the cage. So an image is formed, so it's a visual imagery. The few vivid strips, the few steps of his cage. So imagery is also one of the literary device used here. Next is consonants. Now consonants is the use of consonant sounds. The use of consonant sounds in the lines. So here in this poem you will see stalks his strips. S, 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 S. The use of S sound. Stalks his strips. His fangs, his claws. Again S, S. His strength bars. Again S, S, S. So consonants. Consonants use of S sound. Next is your assonance. Now, excuse me, assonance is use of vowel sound I, O, E. Assonance is use of vowel sounds. Okay, repetition of vowel sounds in a sentence. So here you will see if there are many examples of assonance. Use of vowel sound I in his vivid strips. Then next is bearing his white his. Then with his brilliant. So here in all these three, the vowel sound I is used. Next is the use of vowel sound O. Should around houses. Next is use of vowel sound E. He locked concrete cell. Next is the next literary device is oxymoron. Now what is oxymoron? Oxymoron is words or adjectives which are opposite in meaning. Okay, words which are used together or adjectives which are used together but they are opposite in meaning, that is oxymoron. For example, quiet, rage. Quiet, rage. Now rage is anger. Anger cannot be quiet. If you are saying anger, so anger means it should be loud. Okay, it should be rude and loud, but quiet and rage. So it's an oxymoron because rage, anger cannot be quiet. So quiet, rage. Next literary device is enjambment. Enjambment is when a sentence is continuing to next line without use of any punctuation mark. The examples from the poem is sliding through deer pass. Single sentence but in two different lines. He should be slaloming around houses at the jungle's edge. Another two lines without any punctuation. And stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Again two lines but without any punctuation. So the literary device used is enjambment. Next literary device is onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is the use of words which produce the same sound. For example, bees buzz, bees buzz. So that buzz word is producing the same sound as buzzing. Similarly, here in the poem it's snarl, snarl, snarling, snarl. So that sound is coming of snarling. Next important literary device is alliteration. Now alliteration is use of sound B at the start of two words. Okay, the use of sound B at the start of two words, that is behind bars. Behind bars, sound of repetition of b sound. Then use of sound H in the starting of two words. He hears. So her sound. So alliteration is also one of the important literary device in the poem. Now, before ending, let's come to the message of the poem. What is the poet trying to give the message through this poem? The message conveyed by the poem is that just like humans, animals too long for freedom. They also have a desire to be free like human beings. They also do not like to be caged. They want to live a free life. For instance, the tiger in the poem longs to be in the jungle and he looks longingly at the shining stars in the sky. By looking at the stars, the tiger hoped to be with nature someday. Now, the tiger is looking at the stars and he is expecting that one day I will be also free like the stars. I will be freely moving in the jungles amid the underneath the stars. So by this the poet is trying to give a message that animals should be left open and free. They should not be bound, they should not be caged. With this we come to the end of the poem. I hope you understood the poem A Tiger in the Zoo by Leslie Norris. Thank you.